Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm very excited to bring you a look at the new Marvel Legends Korg Build-A-Figure wave, Gorr, from the new movie Thor: Love and Thunder. You may know him more properly as his full title, Gorr the God Butcher, though looking at this character, I wouldn't blame you for having no idea that that's supposed to be Gorr the God Butcher, because this MCU design is a marked departure from the character's comic book appearance. And I gotta say, I'm not a fan of what I see so far with this design. It's like as much of a departure from comic Gorr as like Malekith was from his comic incarnation in the second Thor movie. So, not feeling it. I'm just gonna say that now. It has nothing to do with the toy, but just this design they chose. I mean, it's just bald Christian Bale with ashen skin. Like that's it. No CGI, no prosthetics, nothing to make him look truly alien. He just looks like a guy. It looks like a necromancer or something. So, not crazy about it, but we're gonna move forward with the review, and maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. That being said, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're gonna take a look at Gorr's packaging, then we'll open it up. We'll get a look at the figure itself, we'll take a quick look at the Build-A-Figure piece, and then we'll check out all of Gorr's posability and accessories. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today, and then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Gorr comes in your standard Marvel Legends packaging. You get your Korg Build-A-Figure call-out up here, you get the Thor: Love and Thunder logo, and then Gorr's name. And then over here, you can see Gorr on the left side, and oddly, he's kind of turned to the side a little bit. He's not really facing forward in the packaging. And he looks like a real sad panda. Doesn't look like a very happy guy. You get his iconic sword here, and then you get the right leg of the Korg Build-A-Figure. And I guess that's it, huh? No additional hands? Huh. That's weird. Jane didn't have additional hands either. Wonder if that's a budget cut thing. Okay, over here we get some artwork of a very obvious Christian Bale dressed as Gorr. And you can see him holding his sword, and there's some sort of crackling energy. He looks like he's about to just spring on the attack or something. Looks very devious here. On the back, we unfortunately get the same artwork, and you can just see more of his body this time. And we get his name, and we get some flavor text, and that says, "Wielding a strange and terrifying weapon, Gorr will let nothing stand in his way." So I do like the use of the very descriptive language there. I dig it. Down here, we get a render of Korg, as well as our cross-sells for the wave. So we get our Thor, who's heavily armored, Mighty Thor, aka Jane Foster, Gorr himself, King Valkyrie, Ravager Thor, Star-Lord, and Groot. So pretty fleshed out wave, all based on the movie, which is a very interesting change there. Alright, so that is the packaging for Gorr. Let's open it up and see if we're pleasantly surprised. Okay, now we get Gorr out of the packaging. So first, let's take a look at his Build-A-Figure piece. It's Korg's right leg. It's got the same posability as the left one, naturally. So you got your double jointed knee, your ankle rock, and ankle rotation. And of course, once it gets plugged into the main body, you'll also have a thigh swivel. So pretty much everything you need for great posing and display. And then we see Gorr here, and you can see that his little cloak is actually detachable. And you don't even need to take his head off to attach or remove it. You just slide it right over, and it'll brush against his nose a little bit, but it's not very tight. And it looks very, very cool. Look at that detail. That's very nice looking. It's got kind of like a shawl going over his back. And then the bottom is made to look frayed and even dirty. It's got this little screen print on it. It looks fantastic. The bottom of his robes are also frayed and dirty looking too. His head is on a double ball joint and looks very much like Christian Bale with a bunch of makeup. He's got the universal shoulders. Now there is a lot of resistance getting them in the outward direction. So I would, use the right amount of leverage. Don't do it here. You might break something. He's got his bicep swivel. He's got his double bend elbows. Right there. He's got universal wrists. His sword holding hand has the hinge here, so he can swing his sword. His fingernails are interesting. Like the fingertips are black with like white highlights here. I'm not sure if his hands are supposed to be singed or if that's just what his nails naturally look like. I'm not entirely sure. He's got a ball-jointed torso, which allows him to move like this. And then he has universal hips And thanks to this slit in the robes, he can splay his hips pretty far out. They can go forward and back pretty far because of how soft this rubber is. He has a thigh swivel. He does have double bend knees. Now the knees, you're probably not going to get a whole lot out of them because you don't want to bend this too much. You might end up creasing it or cracking it. So just be mindful. His entire feet turn on a swivel. And then he's got your standard ankle rock and rotation as well. So he's very posable. He looks good. He's a little on the tall and lanky side, so he may be prone to falling over. Just want to warn you. Alright, then you can take his sword, the Necro Sword. Go ahead and have him hold it like so. And just, pose him up. Make him look cool. As cool as, gray Christian Bale can look, I guess. I mean, he's not terrible looking. He's very disappointing because he looks almost nothing like Gorr the God Butcher. Now, some people have speculated that maybe in the movie he, evolves or transforms in some way and will resemble the traditional Gorr more. I mean, maybe. I don't know if that'd make much sense because the form that we see Gorr the God Butcher in is just what he looks like. That's just his species. Very, Abe's Odyssey looking, with the big puffy mouth and all that. Now, what's interesting is Gorr's history and, the Necro Swords. So he actually gets this from Null, who in the comics is, the elder god who's the progenitor of the symbiotes, like Venom, Carnage, all that. I don't know if that origin's gonna be used at all in this movie. I mean, seeing Null in the MCU would be amazing. He is one of those big threats, right? Those Thanos-level threats. Big deal guy. If this is kind of the way they start introducing Null to the cinematic universe, I'd be delighted. But that also likely means they introduce symbiotes, which I don't know if Marvel can do that on their own. Right? Sony's got Venom and all that. I'm not sure. I'd be absolutely delighted if that's the case, because I love basically anything related to symbiotes and Venom and just all that stuff. I'll take it in a heartbeat. Not sure if they're going to go that route. I have a feeling, just like his appearance, his origin is going to be heavily altered. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to, really end up liking this villain. I think he's going to be another Malekith to me, but we'll see. I would be very happy to be proven wrong about bald gray Christian Bale. And here's a fun group shot of Gorr, confronting the two Thors in the movie. And this is just what I hypothetically imagine a, showdown or first confrontation between these two would look like. And it's funny because Gorr is so simple looking, right? So very humble. He looks like a priest or a monk or something. He's just wearing this, this robe. Looks like some sort of traveler out of the desert. And he's just got this, rather innocuous, though, admittedly evil-looking sword. And then you have the Thors, right? Clad in this righteous, godly armor with their powerful legendary weapons. And, you just know that there's going to be some expectations that get subverted here, because I'm sure when this movie happens, Gorr's going to show up and he's just going to look like this guy. And I have no doubt that, Thor is not going to take him seriously at first. He'll be like, oh, okay, who are you, weird monk guy? And then Gorr is just going to absolutely mop the floor with him. Possibly Mighty Thor as well. I imagine it's going to take, quite the team up to bring this guy down, because from what it seems to be hinting at, he's going to go through a lot of gods before he gets to Thor. We know Zeus is showing up in the movie, and I'm pretty sure they're just introducing him so that he can be dramatically killed off by Gorr. So it's going to be very interesting, and even though I really wish his design, hewed closer to the comics and was a little more alien looking and less plain, I also know that he's going to be a very captivating character, so really looking forward to, all the combat, all the fighting, and just really great action set pieces we're going to get out of this. And this completes our look at Marvel Legends Gorr the God Butcher. I have to say, I'm not taken with the design of the character. I think I've made that pretty clear throughout the video. It's not what I was hoping for, right? I know that's just my expectations. It doesn't make it bad per se, but I do feel very let down by what we end up getting because it's just so very different. It's like, Fantastic Four 2, where Galactus is just a cloud. Very, very disappointing. However, I do have confidence that this character is going to be very cool, despite his appearances, and his appearances may be deceiving. This whole, humble wanderer look might just be a deception, and maybe he does get really awesome, like, symbiote-looking armor, and he gets more powerful. Maybe takes on an appearance closer to what we recognize. Who knows? So I have high hopes for the character, even if I find the current design just kind of drab and boring. I will say, though, that the figure very, very well captures that design. When you look at his cloak and the realistic folds and everything, the dirt around the bottom of the cloak and the robes, the frayed edges, a lot of attention to detail. Even his skin texturing, which I think is scars. It looks like scars on his body. I could be wrong. It might just be his normal skin. He's an alien. And he's got these like weird black veins in his temple and his neck, which might be signs of some sort of symbiote possession. I don't know. I think I'm really getting my hopes out there with the whole symbiote thing. I know Sony has the rights to Venom and like all the Spider-Man characters, but man, would I love to see symbiotes finally appear in the MCU, because that opens the door to, you know, something like Venom or Carnage, and then especially Null, king of the symbiotes, right? Because Gorr's weapon, all black, the Necrosword, in the comics is itself a symbiote weapon. And it is, you know, originally belonging to Null, till Gorr got it, and then Null eventually gets it back and uses it to great effect. So, I don't know. Might be getting my hopes up there. Probably not going to see... They're probably just going to, like, remove the whole symbiote connection altogether. Probably the sword looks like a more normal sword and not like a Raziel Soul Reaver blade coming off of his hand. But we'll just have to wait and see. As far as the figure itself, I think it's a good figure. Posability is great. Again, a little plain in the design, and he doesn't come with much accessories. Though I do like that the cloak is removable, and you can, in theory, like put that on other characters, and that'll look really cool. So I think it captures the look very, very well. So as far as being a good figure, I think it is. I think it just does its job, it's stable, looks good. One of the few characters that have bare feet, too. You don't see that very often. So I like it. And if you have any interest in Gorr as a character, or you want some version of him, or you just really want to collect, you know, this wave or Thor movie toys, I think I'd be pretty happy with him. You know, he is quite a contrast to the more ornate and decorative armors of Thor and his crew, but I think that's by design. I think he is meant to be this character that you very much underestimate. And then once we see the movie, I think it's going to make people want this toy more once they see just how awesome the character is. So if you're not feeling it now, I'm willing to bet that come July or whenever you see it, you'll be feeling it a little bit more then. Of course, that is just my take on Gorr, so now I want to know what you all think of this toy. Is he something that you're interested in? Do you want him now just because he is Gorr the God Butcher? Because, I don't know, you like Christian Bale, or you just really want to collect the whole wave? Or do you not want this guy for some reason? Like, you don't like the design, or you're not interested in Gorr because maybe he's just not a character you're attached to, or maybe you don't collect MCU toys. I mean, there's a variety of reasons that people do or don't want something. Any and all feedback, though, is always welcome in my comment section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the brand new Marvel Legends Korg Build-A-Figure wave, Gorr the God Butcher. And with all that said, I will see you next time.